So hi guys, welcome to the first meetup of the 2021. It's been a long 2020, been with COVID and everything, a lockdown. So we moved to pretty much online, and that's how it's gonna be, I think, for 2021 as well. Don't think maybe any meetups, physical meetup at least. And hope you guys are doing well. We're not sure how we want to format everything moving forward. So, but for now, we're gonna stick with the same format, like probably one or two talks in the same, in one for every month's meetup. So this be the February meetups. So January usually take a break. December is another break. So that's how it's gonna be. And today is gonna be two speakers. We have Jonathan from Tech, and then later on will be me myself. I'll be talking about continuous delivery and automation with DevOps, while Jonathan will be talking sorry, I think something wrong. So Jonathan is basically working with the Team Protect as a cloud architect. Meanwhile, I'm working at Petronas Digital as the SRE. And we also have Sam. Sam is another co-organizer for DevOps Malaysia. He was doing the Buzzcorner part of it. So we're still maintaining the Buzzcorner. So there's a huge people demand for Buzzcorner, right? So we're gonna maintain that. Yeah. And I think my internet got spotty a bit tonight, so please bear with me a bit. Okay. And I'm just gonna give a couple of minutes before we have like about 10 people watching now, so we just wait for a while, and then we start. I'm gonna pass it to Sam later for do his Buzzcorner, and then from there we take any questions. So feel free to drop in any comments and questions, and we will happy to answer. Any questions or you want to have any opinion or feedback you want to give, yeah, feel free to as well. So you're open for that. And let me bring Sam in. So Sam, how are you, Sam? You are live now. So he will do. Yep, he'll be doing the Buzzcorner later on. So I'm just giving a couple of 2 minutes until 8:35. So and then people start joining in. And then yeah, thanks Naeem. So yeah. So and then we be going live. So let's give a couple one more 2 minutes for that. So how's Sam life with MCO now? Like are you like having a good going out to have lunch already, or like or still going you scared to go out, or
No,
or
mostly going out for mostly going out mostly only for groceries lah.
I see.
Mostly at home unless groceries lah.
I see. The traffic is quite bad though. Like it's like traffic is very bad outside there, like worse than pre-COVID. I actually went out earlier and got stuck in the traffic a bit. Yeah. Are you still like working from home, or is it like back to office for you guys?
Working from home. I'm staying like Subang area. The traffic is okay lah. It's not too bad.
Oh, I actually came back from BJ. You know, like the federal highway back to work is just standstill from like Mid Valley all the way to Sunway.
Oh.
And it was like raining as well. So yeah. Okay, I think we have a couple of people. So I'm just gonna do an intro and then pass it back to you, Sam. Good.
Sure.
So yeah. All right. So yeah, welcome guys. So we have we have a couple of 15 people now, so 15 to 18. So let's start. So this is going to be a 26th meetup for us. Wow, it's been a long journey for us. Starting from first and then now like last year was halfway all done online and stuff, but still we're going strong. So I think the tech community also going strong. I see they are active everywhere, like especially overseas, online, Twitter. Now we have Clubhouse as well. So people in Clubhouse is quite active. So if you're on Clubhouse, feel free to follow me, or we have some tech event going on there as well. Other than that, if you need any invite for Clubhouse, let me know as well. I have like 12 invites or something. So let me just ping me privately, LinkedIn or wherever. Like, all right. So let's start. So we're gonna have two speakers. One is me, another one is Jonathan Lin. So Jonathan Lin is a cloud architect at Twin Protects, and he was talking about deploying from Jenkins to GKE Google Cloud. So anything with GCP, you can ask him. Actually, he's a certified Google Cloud professional cert. He holds that certificate, so you can ask him anything about Google Cloud as well. And I will be talking about more like a high level, very continuous delivery and automation with DevOps. So it's just a recycled thought that I'm just going to use this for this, which I haven't talked to in public for using this using this slide. So I'm just going to share with you guys. Right. So next, committee-wise, still DevOps Malaysia is run by volunteers. We always hang out in a Slack group. Engineers, if you go to engineers.my and then just go to the meetup in the Slack group, feel free to ping anyone, ping me. My hashtag is still the same at Tevanraj. So just feel free to put ping us, anyone in the group. Someone will respond there. So me, Sam, and a couple of other people as well are helping to organize this. That's how the DevOps meetup is ongoing now. And we have other meetup as well. So if you want to check it out, what other meetup we have, you can go to devkami.com/meetups. So we created all the meetups there, like hand-picked meetups. We put it there. And we also have KLJS and Junior Dev meetups as well. So next week, we have Junior Dev Tuesday. I think Tuesday. And Wednesday, we have KLJS as well. So KLJS, we're going to have a speaker from Singapore. So he's going to talk about Swell.js. He's the founder. I think he's the creator for the Swell.js, so he can talk. So we also have Clubhouse, where we talk about Malaysian Tech Talk every Sunday night, 9:30 p.m. and Thursday as well, which is tomorrow. Friday night. So, Thursday, yeah, correct. Sorry, I get confusing myself. So Thursday night tomorrow, feel free to join in if you want. Just search for the room and join. I'm sorry if you're Android user, just hang in there. I think soon be there. Yep. And house rules remains the same. If comment-wise, minimize the bug sharing and everything. Respect opinions. Agree to disagree. If you have a feedback or you have an opinion to share, just feel free to share. But agree to disagree, which is important as well. So and we participate in the talk. So especially now it's online, right? It would be appreciated if you can comment and ask questions or post a feedback. Is it good or not? Or is it we are talking to the wall? Or yeah. And again, thanks to the sponsors and volunteers. I think next month, and we're gonna partner with some corporate I think big companies from DevOps meetup. So probably have a good speaker next month. So look out for that as well. And this is an MCO online edition. You're still gonna have a Buzzcorner later. Q&A is still be done, so feel free. But this one you don't have to mute because there's a stream yet. So just and give us feedback. You can ping me privately as well if you want to speak, or you have you don't feel happy about the format, or you're expecting something else from us for DevOps meetup. You can ping me privately as well if you want. We are open to whatever can make it better, right? So we are open actually, especially now it's online, right? So we're trying to fit the situation as well as we go. So if you have any questions, post in the comments. I'm watching the comment section as well. I think Asan, if you have a question, right? Anyone hiring? Yeah, I think you are hiring. So you can comment what you're hiring there, and I will post the question in the stream later, right? So just feel free to post the comment. Actually, I saw some interesting comment there. Okay, thanks, Mizal. So Bus is going to be going to Buzzcorner now. So I'm going to pass it to Sam. So Sam, you wanna jump in, or you wanna use your share your screen, or you wanna use my screen, Sam?
I think I can just use your screen. It'll be easier.
Okay, can just let me know. Go on.
Okay. So hi everyone. So this is GitHub 1S. So for those of you who don't know what project this project is actually a cool feature where you can run Visual Studio Code in your browser by adding 1S. If you're using or scrolling GitHub and you want to have like a VS Code kind of view, just add 1S into your URL. So if one of the usage you can see in the slide is DevKami. So if if you just add GitHub 1S, then you will be able to view the repository for that coming. Okay, next. Next we have Slack outage. So this is just the report that came out, I think, early this month on the Slack outage. It's kind of a very long story short. The provisioning system and the auto provisioning system failed, and there. Other than that, their network infrastructure, their AWS transit gateway started dropping packets and all, and basically it had that's some of the highlights of what happened during the Slack outage early this year, the very major outage. If you want to find out more, to check the link, or go head over to Buzzcorner for the link, or I think they'll share the slides later. Okay, next. Next we have Google GCP launches the VM Manager for automated infrastructure management. So they came out with a new set of I think infrastructure management tools. So I'm guessing this is they're trying to do something quite similar to the AWS systems manager. So this probably their answer to that. So I think most developers are familiar with GCP being more developer centric. So I think as more and more enterprise come on board, they also need to add new features. So this is the new feature, the new VM Manager feature. Next. And Ruby is now on on the Google Cloud Function. So for those who are not familiar with the term Google Cloud Function, this is the AWS Lambda equivalent on GCP, and now supporting Ruby officially. Next. And this is Go. So there's a link on the state of Go. I think one of the highest users for Go is actually in China. For more stuff, can read that. Next, you have Google. Google joins the Rust Foundation. I think self-explanatory. Next, you have this project called Crowdset. It's like a binary that is able to assess and it's able to pass the logs and be able to whitelist, blacklist. It helps to manage a bit of the firewall. So it's not a SIEM replacement, but it's a project that helps to manage some of these firewalls, and they have a blacklist, whitelist kind of function. So I can check out the then next Notion. I've actually forgot what's about this Notion. Tevanraj, you have.
Yep, sure. I will add in. Basically, what happened is, Notion was using a domain Notion.so, but if you notice, all the domain in the worldwide is using based on the country. So SO actually belongs to Somalia. So when Somalia decided it cannot be used for this kind of use, and then suddenly a lot of people lost their access, or they were having a really bad day. So if you go find Manhunt, go find this thread, Twitter, you can read what happened and how they tried to fix it, and why they end up trying to why they registered with SO domain, and then what happened there on. So you can go check it out, that part. Yeah, Sam, you can
Yep. Okay. Thanks. Next, we have a few more news. Golang 1.16 is out. Not sure if you guys use Golang. But Golang Go is quite popular as a cloud usage. So those who are running environments, so the Golang 1.16 is out. It's released. Next, we have Money Lion going public. And also other stuff like Shell entering a deal with Amazon. And of course, in local news, you have GHL system investigating the ePay data breach, where I think someone on Twitter was sharing or on the dark web that they are selling ePay data, I think about how many thousand subscribers information for a certain amount of money. So there's an investigation in place. Also, I think happening this month, Google officially shut down the Stadia game development studio. It was quite hyped, I think, last year, the year before, but it's finally shut down. Okay, next. Joom Hack, I think this one is coming up tomorrow. I think tomorrow's one, I think it should be the virtual challenge. The Joom Hack, so it's a collaboration between Joom Hack and Nginx. It's a security, API security challenge. So those who are available, you can try it out. And I have the link to go through it. And all right, any questions?
So guys, if you have any questions, feel free. So we already post the Buzzcorner. There's actually a lot of Buzzcorner in the Slack group. We just in the engineers Slack group. So you just go to the Buzzcorner. So you just try to find. You can scroll up all the way because we've been taking a break for 2 months. So there's freaking a lot. So if you want to cover everything, won't be enough today. But what we notice is generally there's been a lot of data breaches, GSL, telco as well, and yeah, you can maybe teach explanatory right in Twitter is going on. I don't want to say any company's name and then like be trouble for that. So yeah, and other than that, nothing much. So Sam, you have anything else your side, or are you ready to bring the first speaker for the night?
Yeah, I don't have anything else.
Okay, great. All right, thanks, Sam. See you soon. Right. So for next one, we have Jonathan Lim. He's a solution architect at Tune. So he will be talking about. Basically, let me stop sharing this first. Okay, so I brought in Jonathan, you're live now. So Jonathan, he's gonna talk about deploying from Jenkins to GKE. GKE, if you don't know or not aware, is a Google Kubernetes Kubernetes engine in Google Cloud. So he's also a certified Google Cloud architect professional. So you can ask him anything related to Google Cloud as well. So or you wanted to ask him about Tune insurance, how is it going as well? You can feel free to ask him. I'm not sure if he will able to help you on Tune and the insurance part, but yeah. All right, over to you, Jonathan. You can add your slide in. So let me know when you're ready to add your slide. I will edit it.
Okay, I'm ready.
Yeah. All right, go ahead. All yours.
Okay, hi everyone. So my name is Jonathan, currently cloud architect at Tune Protect. And cloud architect is a kind of a role where it's a mix of solutions, architecture, DevOps, cloud engineering, and software development. So part of my role is, part of my job is trying to figure out how to allow developers to deploy easily from code repository from Git, in Bitbucket or GitHub, to the cloud. In this case, it's GKE. So I export using Jenkins to deploy using GKE, and today I'm going to talk about that. And indeed, this slides here, it sounds very boring, sounds very mundane topic, but yeah, it will save you quite a number of man days. So hopefully this talk will help someone, before you get into all that headache and heartache and wondering about the meaning of life when you're trying to deploy Jenkins for the 3rd consecutive day. And if you want to follow along, there's the demo code over there on GitHub, which I will also show more later. So I think Jenkins needs no introduction. It's very popular, 150 million results on Google. Essentially, it is an open source automation server, which allows you to build, test, and deploy your software. And GKE is not as popular as Mr. Jenkins, but still one of the best, if not the best, managed Kubernetes services around. It is a managed version of Kubernetes, and basically by using GKE, you kind of let Google infrastructure take care of your scaling and managing of your nodes, and just focus on the application part of Kubernetes. So of course, begs the question, right? I mean, if you're using a cloud provider in AWS or Google Cloud or Azure, why are you using Jenkins? And well, Jenkins is open source. It's portable between cloud providers. You can move cloud provider tomorrow, and you can not worry about that eventuality, if and when it happens. And there is less lock-in to any sort of cloud provider by using something open source like Jenkins. I won't say no lock-in, because as we'll see, there's definitely some lock-in to cloud provider APIs. And also, as we saw, the popularity, every developer has probably touched or seen Jenkins before. There's a ton of plugins that we can just plug and play. And it allows for much more complex workflows compared to something like Cloud Build. Cloud Build is kind of GitOps, not very complex. You can't click a button to do something else. It's all or nothing. So Jenkins allows for that. And also there is RBAC support in Jenkins. If you want some of your developers to see some jobs and others to see other jobs, it's possible with Jenkins, and probably harder with a cloud provider tool. And so I think for our company, the biggest sell for Jenkins is the lock-in part. We don't want to, in theory, be too locked into any cloud provider. Okay, the architecture for today's talk is what you see on the screen. We have Jenkins in a compute engine VM. And from this Jenkins in a VM, we will deploy to the Kubernetes engine cluster in the same project. It could be a different project in Google Cloud, but for simplicity, today we'll be talking about these two things in the same project. And why would you do this? Because you would not like Jenkins in your cluster for whatever reason. Maybe you believe that a Java app, a heavy Java app such as Jenkins should not be in a cluster, who knows? Or maybe you have security concerns, or maybe you have multiple clusters in multiple projects, and you want to deploy from one single Jenkins instance. So it doesn't make sense for Jenkins to be in the cluster if you have this. And maybe you have a company-wide Jenkins already that you already have, and you just want to configure it to deploy to a new cluster that you have. Alternatively, if you are starting afresh and you don't have any Jenkins instance that is currently running, and you only want this Jenkins to deploy to this cluster, and that's all you need for this Jenkins, then you can consider putting Jenkins in the cluster. There is much closer integration between Jenkins and the cluster. And in fact, the easiest part about this is the Jenkins Helm chart allows you to just run that Helm chart command and install. And Jenkins will just be running auto-magically for you. So let's set up Jenkins in a VM. So yeah, if you know something about Jenkins, you never ever set up Jenkins in 30 minutes. So therefore, there will be no live demo today. So it kind of be like my step-by-step screenshot and showing you around. And at the end of the talk, I'll kind of walk through the setup. So, well, create a compute engine instance. I leave it in Central 1, US Central 1, that's the cheapest place. A E2 micro, burstable 2 vCPU and 1 GB of memory should be enough for a Java app, 1 gig of RAM. Debian 10 and compute engine default service account, default access, and no public access to the internet. And one more thing that's not shown here, it's also preemptible because I'm trying to keep costs low. And once you get into this Jenkins instance, you need to install Jenkins because Jenkins depends on Java. So sudo apt install OpenJDK 11 JDK. So this is all on the Jenkins website. And then they also provide you a script to install Jenkins via the Debian package manager. So run that. And then sudo apt get install Jenkins. As easy as that. Doesn't get any easier. And while we are installing stuff, we will just install Git as well because we will need it later. So since we did not expose Jenkins, this instance, to the public internet, I will need to use a SSH tunneling to access my Jenkins instance. Or you can expose it, but probably you need to set up Nginx and all that, which I'm going to skip. So when you first go to localhost 8080, you will be greeted by a unlock Jenkins UI form here. So basically, it wants to make sure that you are the same person as the administrator who set up the server and has access to the server. So go to that path over here and grab that password and put it in here. And then you will unlock Jenkins. This is a one-time thing. And it tries to be helpful. Do you want to install the suggested plugins? And I think the answer is usually yes. And you'll be installing all these plugins that you're most likely to use at least 50% of them. All right. So for beginners, I think you should go with the recommended plugins. You're also asked to create a first admin user, which I do, or you can just skip and continue as the admin default user. And there we go. Just like that, we have set up a Jenkins instance and it's ready to go. So that's Jenkins. The second part that we need to set up here is the GKE cluster. So as with all things Google Cloud, you want to use something, you have to enable the API. So just enable the GKE API. And here I'm going to call my cluster the test cluster, and I'm going to make it a zonal cluster because I want to keep costs low. So redundancy isn't my big thing. And I'm just going to keep the number of nodes minimal to just one node. And I think I just downgraded it from an E2 medium, reduced the persistent disk size, and made it preemptible. All right, nothing here, nothing special. It's just me trying to be cheap. Okay, here is something you want to enable upfront. Workload identity. So if you don't know what workload identity means, yeah, you should. We will get into that after this soon. So just enable it. Another thing you might want to explore is application layer secrets encryption. And if you enable this, you will need to provide a cloud KMS key so that your Kubernetes secrets will automatically be encrypted with this key. Because as you know, Kubernetes secrets aren't secret. They are stored in plain text in base 64. So that is something you might want to look at. Anyway, getting off topic. So yeah, enable workload identity. And just like that, test cluster created in a minute or two. And so from my local machine, I want to authenticate and access the cluster. So there's this magic command here, which you can see in the documentation. Gcloud container clusters get credentials and the name of the cluster. And I am assuming you configured Gcloud to the default project, which is the demo project. And you also should have kubectl installed. And then, but just by running this command, kubectl will automatically be configured to point to the new cluster. So if you to confirm that, kubectl config current context is pointing to the cluster we just created. And if you try to get pods, there's nothing in there, right? It's new, brand new. So we have created a cluster, we have accessed the cluster, and we're pretty much ready to go for the next phase. And the next phase is creating a Kubernetes service account. Why do we need this? So Kubernetes service account is a service account that lives in the cluster, that Kubernetes engine cluster. And we need this because this is what we want to achieve. From Jenkins, we want to run the job. And then in order to execute the job, a new Jenkins pod will be spawned in the cluster. And we want to attach this service account, this Jenkins service account, to the agent pod it comes and goes, right? When you launch a job, the pod comes up, and the job is done, the pod disappears. So it's dynamic, it's auto-scaling, sort of, and then you want to return the job result back to Jenkins. So this is basically what we want to achieve. But right now, we just want to create the Kubernetes service account first, right? Step 1. And as you can see, this is the pod definition that we will use for the Jenkins build pod, and we are going to attach the service account name Jenkins to that. So to create a Kubernetes service account is as easy as copy-pasting some random link in the internet and applying it, right? Okay, I'm kidding. So let's go ahead and take a look at what that link is about. So quite straightforward, create a service account, create a role that has all these permissions to do stuff in the cluster, pods, logs, events. So missing here is deployments and services. And yeah, it's missing, but later we'll have to patch this. And once you have the role and then you have the service account, you basically do a role binding to tie them up together. So that is essentially what we want to do here. So just like that, we created a Jenkins service account and we attached it to some roles, and we're good to go. So next phase is we have Jenkins, we have the cluster, and now let's connect Jenkins to the cluster. So we want to Jenkins to talk to the cluster. So first step is go ahead and download the Kubernetes plugin, just one plugin, and that plugin will pull its dependencies, other plugins as its dependencies. So don't be surprised to see more than one plugin here. And you will need to restart Jenkins every time you install some plugin. And then we will go to Jenkins, manage Jenkins, and manage nodes and clouds, and then click on configure clouds. And you want to add a new cloud, and there's only one right now, Kubernetes. And you're greeted with a form. So I would advise you to just name the, give it a name that is the same as the cluster name. And then there are 3 fields that you need to fill up in order for Jenkins to successfully talk to your cluster: the cluster endpoint, the cluster certificate, and the Jenkins service account token. So the next few slides is all about getting these 3 items. So cluster endpoint is pretty straightforward. And you basically go to the GKE dashboard and look at the cluster details, and the endpoint is right there. If you click on show cluster certificate, certificate is right there for you to copy. So as for service account, kubectl get SA service account, and then describe the Jenkins service account, and it will show you that the token name is this name. So take the token name and describe that secret, and you will see that the token is stored in plain text. It's not even base64 encoded. I don't know why. It's just, this is the token. This is not base64 encoded, right? This is the token. Just grab the token, create a credential in Jenkins, credential of type secret text. Just paste the token in here, give it a recognizable name, and give it a recognizable description. because you want to know what it is in the future. And there we go. We have the three things that we need: the cluster endpoint. I put a HTTPS there. It seems to work fine. Begin the certificate and the credential. And if you click on test connection, it says connected. So this is a one-way communication. Jenkins has managed to call the cluster, and the cluster said something 200. Okay, all right. Now, obviously, if you want to run Jenkins, you basically want to run jobs in Jenkins. So let's revisit what we're trying to achieve. We want to run a job. It spawns a agent pod and returns job results. And in the pod, you can do any interesting stuff. And in today's example, I'm actually going to call the cloud APIs to do all the heavy work for me. And then I'm going to deploy it to with kubectl, all right? So your agent pod might need to call some cloud APIs and do stuff in the cloud. So, but right now, I'm concerned about the Jenkins agent being able to talk back to Jenkins. So in order for the Jenkins agent in the cluster to be able to talk to the instance in the VM, get the VM IP, the internal IP. And if you go back to configure clouds, instead of the 3 fields just now, you scroll down a bit more. You need to give it the Jenkins URL. So in this case, just HTTP internal IP. And don't forget the port 8080, which is the default where Jenkins is running. And then also the Jenkins tunnel, same IP address with a port of 50,000. And so what is the Jenkins tunnel? Jenkins tunnel is basically the port through which the agent in the cluster will speak back to Jenkins. So that is the Jenkins tunnel. And one more thing we need to do, we need to go to configure global security in the Jenkins settings and fix the port for the agent to 50,000. And yeah, this is the complete guide to Jenkins agent in a cluster reporting back to your instance. So once we have done, in theory it works. We go ahead and create a job. So create a hello world job, and I'm going to create a pipeline type of job. So we want to deploy from this GitHub repo. And don't worry, we're going to go there in a minute. So in the pipeline configuration, you want to have a pipeline script from SCM. And you want to copy paste the GitHub repo link. And in this case, we don't really need a credential because we are not using SSH. We are just using the HTTPS link. If you are deploying from a private repo, you'll probably want to use SSH, and then you need to configure your SSH keys and all that. And you need to give it a script path. So point it to where the Jenkins file is, right? So now the Jenkins file is sitting right at the root of my repository. So so there's no real path. It's just Jenkins file. Okay, let's take a look at the Jenkins file. So the Jenkins file it's a groovy syntax. So the agent is where you declare the cloud that you're going to use. So the cloud with the same name, test cluster, and then you need to provide a YAML file, Jenkins build pod, which we're going to take a look at. So this is basically the configuration for running your Jenkins agent in the cloud. And the cloud is really our Kubernetes pod, right? And you can use stages in the Jenkins file. First stage is build. And the app is sitting in the hello app directory. So declare the directory and then go into it. And then, yeah, I'm going to use a container, a gcloud container. Basically, the container only runs gcloud. And I'm going to just use cloud build to do all the stuff for me. and tag it with some URL, which I'm going to use and deploy later. And then in the deploy stage, I'm going to use kubectl and container with kubectl, and I'm just gonna make the deployment happen. All right, with the same container URL that you saw earlier that I built with Cloud Build. And then I'm also going to declare a service here, and I'm going to roll out the deployment. All right. So pretty straightforward. I think most of you who have some experience with Kubernetes would know what's going on. So let's go ahead and take a look at the rest of the repo. Am I too zoomed in? Okay. So the build pod you have seen earlier, it's just like that. So this build pod is referred to in the Jenkins file so that Jenkins knows what pod to build, right? What pod to use as the agent. And this is a modified version of the Jenkins service account definitions, and added some stuff here, which you'll see later. So we needed some extra permissions. What else is there interesting here? Okay, the Hello app is basically a Go app that just says Hello World. Okay, it prints out Hello World version and the name of the pod. So that's it. Okay. So yeah, why am I using Cloud Build with Jenkins? Because I got lazy and in one line of gcloud build submit, I built my container. So, but it doesn't really matter. It could be anything, right? You could be you trying to deploy the cloud functions, so gcloud functions deploy, or you trying to use gsutil to store and read from cloud storage. It can be whatever, as long as you need to interact with some cloud API, right? So Cloud Build here represents that. So if you used Jenkins 5 years ago, a lot of you would have been very used to just putting in putting in bash scripts into your UI in Jenkins and running your jobs from there. So Jenkins File is kind of the way where you can commit all your CI/CD scripts into your Git repositories so that you can track revisions and track changes, just like how you track your code changes with Git. And potentially you can configure, if you have a microservices repo, you could even configure the Jenkins file once for all your services so that you don't have to keep copy pasting the configuration in your Jenkins UI. And you also get the visualization provided by the stages in the Jenkins file. So these are some of the benefits. It's not exhaustive. And the next part that you saw earlier, we have Cloud Build that builds and it pushes it to Artifact Registry. So Artifact Registry is basically Container Registry 2.0, right? So Container Registry, I think everyone knows in Google Cloud, you want to store your container somewhere, you use Container Registry. But Artifact Registry is kind of like the generalization of that, and you can store not just Docker images, you can store Maven, NPM, and APT. What's that? I forgot. So enable Artifact Registry, create the repository. We are only interested in Docker right now. Region of US Central 1, right? Low egress fees, same region. And copy the repo URL that you get. So this repo URL, you saw that in the Jenkins file, we define some params, right? So this params is configurable from your Jenkins job. You can name it whatever you like and give it a default value. So this is the repo URL that we copied from the previous slide. And this is the image name. You can give whatever name you like. And so in this case, we'll just give it the name of the application. And we are ready to run jobs, but it's going to fail, right? Because the Jenkins service account in Kubernetes, the Jenkins pod in Kubernetes does not have access to any of the cloud stuff. But let's run it anyway, because that is how we get stuff working in Jenkins, right? You fail fast so that you know what's going wrong. So as I said, Jenkins has no permissions to GCP. And so when you launch the job and then you run kubectl get pods, you immediately see an agent pod spawning and running, hopefully. And if you copy the name of the pod and you do kubectl logs, name of pod and name of container, you kind of see the logs and you try to catch it before it disappears, before Kubernetes wipes out the pod. So we can see that, okay, there's some timeout issue here, which either means that you didn't configure a firewall or you misconfigured a firewall or you gave it a wrong HTTP URL, which isn't the case right now. So previously, I forgot to put the port. So yeah, port matters. So let's segue again to creating a firewall. So if you create a new Google Cloud project, by default, you get a default network. And in the default network, VM to VM communication is allowed, but ports to VM is not allowed. So go to the GKE cluster and get the port address range and configure your firewall to allow a VM instance tagged with Jenkins to be accessed from the IP range. And I think I need to move faster. Okay, job failed. And now we see a new error, namespaces, some weird looking thing. And basically it says, I don't have permissions to do any of this cloud stuff, okay? So still progress. We managed to get Jenkins to talk to the cluster. We deployed build pods to the cluster on demand when you launch jobs. And we receive build reports from the cluster. This is a build report, error messages. Okay, very good. So now we need to give this Jenkins pod in the cluster permissions to run Google Cloud stuff. All right, we have the Kubernetes service account attached to the pod, and we have the Google service account that can do everything we want to do in Google Cloud. So how do we link these two things together? And I'm going to skip over what is a service account. Basically, it's an identity for a non-human user, kind of like IC for machines. All right, service account is like your identity for machines. And I want to quickly say Kubernetes service account and Google service account, different things, different domains. They sound the same, but they're not the same. They operate differently in different spaces. Okay. So to link between the Kubernetes service account and the Google service account, we need to use this thing called, or we can use this thing called workload identity. And it allows a Kubernetes service account to impersonate a Google Cloud service account. So it is the recommended way to allow your stuff running in GKE to access Google Cloud. And the alternatives are your traditional service account keys or your service account for your nodes. And so there's this concept of the workload identity pool, and every project comes with one workload identity pool that is displayed on the screen here, project ID dot, that weird thing you saw just now, SVC ID Gook. And basically the premise is with the following member name, project ID, basically the workload identity pool, the namespace in the Kubernetes cluster, and the service account name. This service account member name allows you to bind to the Google Cloud IAM service account. So in practice, our member name for this service account using workload identity is the following. It's a default namespace, Jenkins service account, and this is the Google Cloud project ID. And of course, you create a Google Cloud service account with the role that you want to perform the task. So in this case, Cloud Build Service Account. And here's where the magic happens, right? This is where we're going to link the Google Cloud Service Account with the member name of the workload identity, pool. and we do a IAM policy binding. And in essence, this command basically grants the role workload identity user on the member service account DevOps, this thing here, and it allows it to impersonate this service account. Okay, long story short, and me executing this same thing. And this is the step that I forgot to do, and it probably cost me 2 man days. Basically, you have one more step you need to do, and you need to annotate the service account in Kubernetes to point back to the Google Cloud service account. All right, you need to bind it in the Google Cloud side, and in the Kubernetes side, you need to annotate with the service account of the Google Cloud service account. All right, so 2 steps, 2 key steps. Don't forget this one. All right, so annotate it. And with that, we have linked the Kubernetes service account represented by the workload identity member name with this Google Cloud service account. And therefore, the workload here in Kubernetes is able to impersonate the permissions of this Google Cloud service account. And this is not just a Jenkins thing, you know, like if your apps running in in GKE need to talk to cloud storage, then you can also use this trick to authenticate with Google Cloud without messing with all those keys and whatnot. So we're almost there. We have these 2 service accounts that we wanted to link up, and we have. So let's just go ahead and try running the job a few more times. Okay, Cloud Build API needs to be enabled, sure. And this is where I see some complaints, okay, like the Jenkins service account cannot get some deployments resource in the API group, this, that. So basically, I need to give the Jenkins role in Kubernetes more power, right? Just give it more permissions and apply the file. And that's it. We have successfully deployed to GKE. So if you see it running, so let's okay, before I get to this, let's do a quick live walk around. And so I'm going to tunnel into my instance. And refresh the page. So this is the instance which I did not expose to the public, and I'm accessing it through this tunnel. And we have the hello world. We see like the nice pipeline here, the stages. And so let me just show you. Okay, before that, let me prove to you that there's nothing there. So no pods, no services, and well, Kubernetes service. So let's just build with parameter, and this is the image URL that has been defined. And if you look at the configuration, it's not very complicated. It's well parameterized, blank, 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 read from GitHub, point to Jenkins file, boom, that's it. And let's take a look at manage Jenkins. So manage nodes and clouds, configure clouds is where we did all that configuration. So if you take a look, this is all that we set up just now with the Jenkins URL and the tunnel. Everything else is at default, and you could go into advanced, but I won't here. And one more thing is the security that you need to configure to allow the cluster to talk back to this Jenkins instance. And basically this thing over here, set the port to fix 50,000. And there we go. That is the Jenkins configuration. And let's take a look at the Okay, that's yeah. So sometimes it takes a while to go online. So creating, and sometimes this takes a while. For some reason, sometimes this takes much longer than should. So let's nothing much here. Okay, let me show you Kubernetes engine, the cluster, and this is where we get the endpoint information, and we can see that workload identity is enabled, and it needs to be enabled for this to work, that linking thing. And hopefully we get a better result. So no luck, it tries again. And in the meantime, let me show you that role binding. So gcloud IAM service accounts this. So we have the service account that we showed just now. And so gcloud IAM service accounts get, I believe is this. Get IAM policy, name of service account. We have the binding with the workload identity user role and the member name of the workload identity. Okay, well, it's pulling. So let's just show you a successful case. And it does all it fetches from Git. It submits to gcloud builds, and it does a deploy via kubectl. So that is a happy path, which is taking a while today. But yeah. So let me quickly talk about alternative approaches. So we are ending. Instead of going through all this hassle, you could have also installed dependencies directly on the Jenkins master instance. And you have to make sure your jobs run on the same master instance because the dependencies only exist there. And that is one option. So you don't get the option to run your jobs in the cloud, right? So your resources are kind of finite. The other option you could explore is, well, GKE nodes are pretty expensive. So, well, VMs are expensive, right? So you could allocate preemptible node pools to run your Jenkins stuff. So you need to configure some node affinity or node selector, not covered in today's talk. So yeah, I'll open the floor for Q&A while maybe we won't get this working today. Yeah.
Yep. I think you can leave it running a bit. So yep, thanks, Jonathan. We have actually a couple of questions here. I'm just going to bring one by one. Let me check. Okay. We have Michael asking, why not just use GitHub Actions? So why not GitHub Actions?
So why not GitHub Actions? Number one, our code isn't on GitHub. It's somewhere else. So yeah, and GitHub Actions kind of locks you in, right? It's a very proprietary solution. So Jenkins, I don't think you can get more open source than that. I mean, there's probably more complex tools, maybe Spinnaker, but yeah, it's because if you're not using GitHub and you don't want to be locked into GitHub Actions, right? Because you can't just export config from GitHub Actions and start running it in Bitbucket pipelines or Cloud Build. So yeah.
Okay, I think pretty much that's answered the questions, right? So Sam have a question saying that I guess certificate is probably equals to JVM package. So do you want to say anything about it?
What? Can you repeat the question?
It's on the screen as well. I guess.
Okay, maybe let me. Okay, so yeah.
Yep.
Once I go to the screen.
Oh shit.
That's why.
Sorry.
That's why.
No, my other. So I have another Mac here when to sleep. So, all right, got it. So, I guess I mean, what you call it, APT, certificate registry probably equals to Debian package.
Oh, okay, yeah. Okay, great. Yeah. Okay, that's not a question. Right. APT
Yeah,
is...
it's just statement. So, do you have anything to add on it? So, and we have
So
another.
yeah, this sometimes happens. So let me just quit the job.
I think Jonathan is distracted a bit. So, so let us give him a bit time. And
Any other questions?
Yep, we have one more question. Have you tried build what is this? Kite. Yeah, kite. Is it pronounced correctly? Kite.
Kite.
Yep.
No, I have not. I've not tried Kite. Kite. CI/CD,
So
is it? No, I have not tried Kite, so can't comment. Can't comment. But yeah, I mean, it involves another pricing, and you know, if you're working in enterprise, you don't want to deal with pricing. If you have you have it working in Google Cloud, you know, you don't really want to leave. So yeah, I think that's a challenge with enterprise.
Yeah, that's what Kevin's saying is it's not free. And Malik was saying that taking consideration of vendor locked in on GitHub Actions and legacy apps such as Java much rely on Jenkins. I think they're basically agreeing with you that Jenkins have a solid reason to use as a CI/CD tools. So yep, I think this yours is working already. So let's give a guys. You have few last questions. You can pump in.
Okay, so I think the live demo is failing, but anyway, it was working yesterday. So that's all I can say.
We all say that. I mean, I know why, because you didn't pray to the demo god. So
yeah, this tends to happen with Jenkins, unfortunately. I don't know. Yeah. Okay, so I think but I basically covered all the bases. I think to in theory make it work for your case, hopefully. So yeah, I think I'll just end here. There's nothing much to see. It should just pass, and then your Hello World app gets deployed. Yeah.
Sorry, I think some of you lost me for a while. Okay. We have one more. Basically, any good Jenkins replacement that you can suggest, Jonathan?
Well, actually, I want to direct the question back to Tevan. I think you used what last time in AirAsia? Spinnaker,
right? Spinnaker, we tried out Spinnaker. And then what else? I actually forgot already. It's been a year, man. What was the?
Okay, so confessions. I only use Cloud Build. I use Bitbucket pipelines. I didn't use GitHub Actions.
GitLab CI/CD.
GitLab also, yeah, similar to Bitbucket pipeline. But I think if you are one cloud, if you're just on Google Cloud and you are like a small operation and you don't mind being locked in, you can try Cloud Build. So it's very versatile, but it's pretty simple, you know. Push to Git repo, deploy. That's it.
Correct. Okay, I think that's the last question lah. So, okay, I think thanks for joining, Jonathan. I think you can hang around or you can leave as well. I just will continue with my talk. I think it's a good to have you, Jonathan. I think it's basically like this, like whether you want to willing to pay, if you're willing to pay, how much you're willing to pay, or you want a free one, or you want to pay one, but you want to go through the procurement process, probably take a year to get it done. So it's entirely up to you. So that's usually the case. We have a lot of tools out there. Okay, so I think Jonathan is still okay there. We'll continue with my talk. So we move on to my next talk. So we're already 9:35. All right, mine is very high level, not so technical, lightweighted. So feel free to join me. Feel free to ask any question, drop in a question, let me know. So let me share my screen. All right, so I'm gonna present. I hope you guys can see it. All right, cool. So thanks guys for joining tonight. So we have two talks today, special. So my talk is about continuous delivery and automation with DevOps. We're going to talk about continuous deployment as well a bit. We're going to talk about the solution, the delivery, what automation you can do with it, or we tried before. I mean that I tried before. This is actually a talk that I give before, so I'm just going to keep it. Just you recycling it. Before this was a private, this is a public one, so that's the only difference. And it's lightweighted as well. So let's start. So this is the agenda, normal agenda. What we're going to talk about, like who I am. I think some of you already know who I am and the solution and stuff like that. So who I am, this is normal intro. My name is Tevanraj. So previously I was working with Asia, part of the DevOps team. So that's why I was able to do a lot of stuff for DevOps and stuff, especially with tools, but especially when the cost is a concern. Now I'm an SRE, SRE with Petronas Digital. So and yeah, so basically I'm working there now. So and also what else I do is I organize tech communities. I used to do more active last year before the COVID hit. KLJS, you can search Kuala Lumpur JS on Facebook and join. Or JavaScript Malaysia on Meetup page. You can also check Junior Dev Malaysia on the Meetup page. This is another spin-off from Junior Dev .io from Australia. So yeah, and I'm also the co-organizer for DevOps Malaysia. So this is what I do, and also a mentor for a couple of hackathons. So I had the opportunity to, last year I think, last year towards the end of it, I was able to mentor for my hackathon as well, like Malaysian my hackathon. That's really good experience as well. So, and I'm also a law grad. So actually I graduated with the law, and I saw the light. I went with the brightest part, I guess. So which is the tech side. And let's start with the common problems we have in the organization, right? We have a lot of problems in the organization, like enterprise, or whether you're a startup, or whether you're an enterprise, or you're corporate, or you're a big organization, right? They all have a problem. So what are the common problem is there's a lot of process or red tapes. You want to do a simple as requesting an IAM access for you as a user. You just want to get access so you can start the project and deploy the project, or you just want to get a service like cloud function. Simple, like, but to get access is like probably take 1 month, or some company will take about 1 week. It depends on which company you're working with and how large is the thing, and you need to give an explanation why I need this. It's really like painful. And also there's a differences, like we have software people, and then we have a business people, and then we have a product people as well. Each and everyone have their own opinion or the way of the seeing, but the common goal is to get it live to serve the user. But there's a lot of differences, and you have to end up arguing here and there. These are the problems we always face, right? So in every organization we have, the larger the organization, the bigger is the problem. And then we also have silos. This is especially it's very clear, evident in the very large organization where they have just one team for IAM, for user access, another team for cybersec, for the infra side of it, or another team for software. So, and or another team for application team, another team for just for Linux instance of like another team for that. So these are the silos have each work their own way. They have their own process. There's a lot of stuff. Probably need to like fill out forms. Each level for you to actually get your application live. So it's like a long process as well. And then there's an infrastructure team usually have their own problem of like provisioning the infra when you request for a new project. That it takes some time for them. They're probably occupied with other jobs. They need to help you. So that's another issue as well. And sometimes there's a slow velocity as well. Like the business will be like, why you're too slow? And like, why is the application is not getting live yet? Why are you taking so long? It can't be taking that long. But why some people fail to understand is the process is too long. There's too many process, too many levels, too many people need to get involved. There's a lot of like, again, bureaucracy, if you have put it. And then there's a legacy as well. Like sometimes we have an Angular 1 or 2, version still being used in certain companies, right? So this is a legacy. How do you want to, suddenly we have like Angular, I think 10, I'm not sure which Angular now. So you want to move to the next one, right? It's not easy as well. Like people pretty much just start from scratch, right? And the cost to maintain, the cost to maintain the software, to make to actually to do maintenance to the application itself, which is already like been long, right? It's not easy. It's like it's going to build your company a lot. And if you're a big company, they probably like don't care much. They probably realize it after years down the road. Oh, but it's too late. But for them, it's too much money for them, right? And there are companies that cost is really a constant, so they want to reduce the cost as much as possible. They always like every month do something. Okay, how we can do this very cost effective or no cost at all, you're leveraging on what we have already. So that's another problem to solve, right? So these are the problems that we have. And the best part, you need to keep it up and running, your application, the reliability itself. That's the actually main thing. When your application is live, your customer facing, when it's down, even for a small thing, you get a lot of bash and a lot of complaints. So keep it up and running is a major thing. And last but not least, quality. What I realized that nowadays a lot of applications out there is like there's no quality. They like too much process. The software developer get tired. Everyone get tired. They just like whatever, man. I just want to go live and see what happens down the road. So these are the common problems we have faced in the organization. And whether you're a startup, whether you're in the big organization, is normal, right? So let's talk about solution. And what are the solution out there we already have? We have IAC, which is infrastructure as a code. We have PaaS, which is platform as a service. We also have like people claiming, oh, agile and there's methodology, and then Scrum, and then there's like these are the people that preaching over there. I'm a very agile. I mean, they will say I'm an agile specialist. So how can I share it? But when you see, it's actually a waterfall converted. I mean, agile converted to a waterfall way. So there are things out there, especially the claim is agile, but actually we look at it properly, it's probably a waterfall. Like that's why you call it dark agile as well. And then we have infrastructure as a we put it is probably to AWS, and we have continuous delivery, which is one of the topic today. And then we have automation. Automation helps a lot in saving time, getting rid of red tapes and process, and basically reduce the tension and speed, increase the speed between it. And then we have continuous testing to increase the reliability. And I'm not sure whether many companies out there have this, but it's good to have. But it's a chaos engineering. This is like add on. Like you're already there, but you want to add one more level up. Chaos engineering is like probably one of the way to test your system in production, like, or is really up to par or not. Like just try it out. So this actually increase the reliability of your system itself. So that's one way. And before I go to the continuous delivery, right, I will just ask you a question, like whether you should deploy on the Friday at 5 p.m. when the long weekend, probably we had a 4-day weekend, like a long weekend, right? So will you say deploy? I mean, for now, everyone's stuck at home, you're working from home. You probably say, yeah, why not? I have nothing to do at home. So, but if you're not a COVID situation, you're not a lockdown, I just want my peaceful weekend, right? So this is one of something you keep in the mind, which I'll come back to this later on down the road. So with all this solution we have, right? But for the business, for the owner or the CEO of the company or the stakeholders, right? What they want is how to add business value in the fastest manner with the continuous changes, improvement, delivery, deployment, whatever, right? They don't care how you do it. They just want the application to be live so they can add value to the company and start probably like making money or adding value to the customer. So that's what they want. That's what actually end of the day, like want to keep everyone happy at the end, at the same time at the end of the day. But keeping everyone happy is not an easy way to do it actually. So I mean, pretty much no one can do it, right? So but the least you can do is try. So moving on. So continuous delivery. So what is a continuous delivery? Continuous delivery is probably like some people say is equivalent of a continuous deployment, right? But if you say continuous delivery as a continuous deployment, what you're missing is one step, which is release day, probably a release day or something like before you go to live. You will actually pause first. The business need to give you a yes or no. You have to, like I know some company have like a PowerPoint slide, which day to release, how to release, what to release, probably calendar in the schedule way in the calendar, and they have it for that. So this is part of the continuous delivery as well. That's what separates with the continuous deployment. Continuous deployment is just like I click a button, the code goes all the way to the production without no interference and stuff through the automated process. But that's the difference. The major difference, right? So how does if I put it if you going back to backward, right, one step behind, right? What is a continuous delivery instead? Continuous delivery, is actually a process development process from A to Z, from the moment the project start until all the way to the end, the project is live, and then on the maintenance of it as well. Like how do you bug fixes, how you do the maintenance, the new feature release, all that will be involved. And this where the continuous CD, the CD helps as well. Like, and what we're trying to achieve here is actually to reduce the break tape, reduce the process, reduce of the stress between everyone, different across a team, and increase the reliability. And you just want to get it live as soon as possible and make and add value to the customer. That's our objective here. So if you notice, this is what I've earlier mentioned, right? So continuous delivery actually stops before the deployment itself. And then on is a deployment. So if you continuous deployment, it actually goes from planning all the way to the deployment itself. And it's a continuous cycle. Like Netflix, I think is they do hundreds of micro deployments or deployments itself like in the day, right? So because they're not worried, they're actually comfortable with the system. That's why they came up with even Chaos Monkey, right? To test it live, whether it's working well or not. So that's one way. And yeah, so this is the proper, I mean, like a nice good chart, which I copied obviously. So you can see the references here down there. Agile development, continuous integration, delivery, and DevOps, and how you operate and maintain it. So let's go on to the continuous delivery. How we can do the continuous delivery? We have IAC. So for example, the problem I mentioned is infrastructure provisioning. You can use the IAC for that, which you use the code automated what your resources you need, and then you just click. You just deploy it. Your infrastructure provisioner, which is like very fast. You can take when compared to last time where you're going to take a couple of days. And then we have automated code changes. Where for example in the GitLab or GitHub, you can do code changes like instantly, like once you do application live, or where commit merge request merge straight away. That's all. That's why we have test case and a test that, which this is so important actually. Like, but and it creates value for your customer, right? That's what you wanted in the end of the day. And now it's actually like speed up, like guy mentioned, and then we all have a show what's wrong. It's actually feature management itself, deploy, and then just like toggle keys and then the feature. So this I want a feature call is not available, but instead I enable the feature B. So feature B is now available in production. So this is one way of like adding value, right? This you don't have to do a code change, it's already there. You just like matter of like whether you switch it on and switch it off. So that's one way. And now we going back, right? Now we're talking about a lot of people like talking about what industrial revolution and stuff like that, automation. But we talk about automation, but even the simple things can add a lot of value in simple automation. That's why I actually put in automation as well, part of this. I mean, the DevOps as well, right? So because it helps to increase. So, I mean, I don't. How it helps is again the same way you reduce the process, increase the value, and less people to deal with it, the less human interaction, and certain things probably like you can automate it. But probably for IAM requests, you probably get rid of the form. So you probably have an automated chatbot or something, which I will go later on to talk about it too. So these are the stuff that reduce the process. I mean, increase the value to the entire chain, process chain itself, right? So again, I have IAC there. We also have function as a service. Like you can do a microwave function as a service for using Lambda, right? For example, and you have chatbot as well, which you can do. I think some of you lost me earlier, right? So sorry, the internet a bit laggy a bit. So chatbot. So for example, IAM request. You can make like if you have a lot of chatbot, right? You can make a simple chatbot for asking for request. Okay, just go to chatbot. I say I want access, view access for this project. So you define your reason, give your reason why, or whatever the form, right? You just answer it. And then probably if you require human interaction, like human interaction, just see, okay, this person asking for this is a reason they have, and then matter of whether they want to approve it or not, and it's done instantly. If you want to automate it, it's straight away get you the person got the access and the record is there for audit reasons. So that's one way of doing it. And then what else I can talk about is there's also the downtime. Like the automation is can reduce the downtime too. So because if you have like the simplest way, like you have to install an agent of uptime, right? So it lets you know when the application is down, so you can reduce the downtime. If not, how do you want to check your application is down or not, right? Are you going to check manually from the browser, like every time, okay, google.com, is it live? Okay, no. So even that is considered as a small step of automation. So let's take a step back, right? So this is like a simple joke. Or simple joke or simple question to ask, but it actually makes sense. Everyone have a question like which service is the fastest, but I think now what should we change is which service is the securest, most secure one. That every security is a concern for everyone. Like that's why they don't want to move from on-prem to cloud, right? So that's one of the reasons they use, but they actually fail to realize that cloud actually get rid of a lot of process and automate a lot of stuff. But you still need on-prem. I'm not saying you don't need on-prem. On-prem you still need. So how do you want to like two different things, cloud and on-prem, to have it together? So banking, for sure you need an on-prem for certain for the data, right? But you need to secure it as well. If you don't secure an on-prem, you still have issues. I had I had like a couple of days ago, like someone telling me real story it happened. So I will share this. Basically, they had an on-prem, waited for Chinese New Year leave, and then realized during the Chinese New Year leave, the application was down. So why? So they went back to office and checked. Apparently, a red P on their on-prem server. So the server was down. The on-prem server was down. So they need to fix it, everything, and get it up and running for application. See, a simple red P on a server and the entire application is down. So let's quickly talk about the infrastructure as a code, right? So infrastructure as a code is basically that's what you call IAC. So what is it? How it works, right? And if you want me to give a example of IAC, it'll be like Terraform. Terraform is probably more widely used, and then we have Pulumi, which is I think it's a code base as well. Ansible is not. I don't know whether we are going to consider as IAC or not. It's not really. It's more like the infrastructure provisioner. So I just putting in just one way of like how the infra team I put it there because it's one of the tools that infra team use it to actually speed up their work. So they try. And then we have Terraform and Pulumi that which can actually increase the speed as well. IAC. So you can see the code here. Like you can just say because I duplicate in place. You just write out the script in YAML, like what it define it in the script what you want, what the resources you need. Compute, for example, this compute network you need, and a subnet you need to auto-create it. No, so you just put it in whether you need the IP range, everything, which region you need, and then you just click off the command line and it's done. Right, infrastructure is provisioned in a couple of minutes, and you don't have to worry about anything. And you move on to the next work, which adds more value to the company and yourself. And if you can just chill a bit instead of taking a few days, you just do it in 4 minutes and be like, oh, I can go for coffee or take a break. So and another thing is important as well, reusable configuration infrastructure. Like you do want to do a repetitive stuff. If there's something is repetitive, you're doing it repetitively, you need to find a way to automate it. That's what I believe in at least. So if I keep doing the same thing again, I need to find a way actually to automate that stuff. Why I'm keep doing the same thing? So if you even require human interaction, like for example, for audit reason, like I need to see that you need a human, so just add an approve or reject button. So or you can do that as well. So it's up to you and how you want to convince your team or the cyber side or the security team to say that it's possible, it's not possible. And then we have a platform as service. Like I think the good for Azure would be Azure, I think app service, I think. So and then you have Heroku as well, I think it's considered as platform as a service. And we have App Engine. So that's some of the example that you use. So usually like if you go to the next slide, where I could show Azure app service, Beanstalk is one way, App Engine, Heroku. So all what it does is when you want to deploy, you just like one command line, gcloud app deploy, for example, for Google App Engine, and then it's straight away there. And you can do a A/B testing as well with this, and you can debug your code live as well. That's what I did previously. Like, you want to debug what's going on, right? So you don't know what's happened after you go the application on live. So you want to see the user. So you check the ID, what's going on, the logs, everything. And you can integrate the SSL cert as well inside the thing. So since it's all in one project and one application itself, it's easier to manage. But probably if you go with a corporate or the bigger companies, they won't like it because they will probably have their own domain team or probably own SSL team. So this actually try to speed up the process or increase it in one very managed possible, and you do it with a very less human interference required, right? So yeah, this is one way you want to check it out as well. And then we have function as a service and chatbot as well. So for example, function as a service is like Azure Function, Lambda, Cloud Run. So I will use a Cloud Run here as an example, right? Cloud Run actually you can take a Docker image and put it live, and then give you a URL. And this URL, if like you see it's no traffic, you can actually shut it down. You actually save cost there. So this is one way of reducing cost. Like you have an application, we probably require like probably 1 hour to hour live, and if you probably don't want to use that application that often, so you just like use a Cloud Run, create a Docker image, put it in a Cloud Run, and up and running, deploy it. So it's in the and when you don't need it, it just goes off. Like for example, it's the same concept as how you're using the Heroku free version, I guess. So sometimes if you don't access the Heroku application, which is the free version, for let's say for a couple of hours, right? It's actually, and then you try to access again, you take a bit longer time because you start the engine, like for example, starting the engine again and try to reset everything and up and running. So it takes some time for that. And Chatbot is a very good way if you want to do FAQ or documentation, right? I think Azure have a good. I mean, Windows have Microsoft Azure have a good chatbot for this. I think Q&A maker or something. You can just, if you have a good documentation of FAQ, you can just pump into a Q&A maker, and then voila, you have a proper chatbot on that, which requires like you probably need 5 or 10 minutes, and it's there ready for people to use. You just have to search. I want to how to create this access, so it's there. Straight away take the FAQ, give to the user, integrated with chatbot. So it's one way of speed up process. And then another way of also reducing the toil. So you can use this kind of way of like try to reduce the toil, reduce the time, basically be lazy, like try to find a way to be lazy instead of not doing your work. You try to find a way to automate your work, right? So back to the topic of the content earlier, right? Continuous delivery, and I added in a continuous deployment because I want to give a difference continuous delivery and deployment. Like as I mentioned earlier, right? Continuous deployment actually goes one step further than the continuous delivery. So in this the continuous deployment is actually have to pass through all the production, I mean entire pipeline itself, from the testing, for the QA and the test QA and performance tests and smoke tests, all that have to pass, and also and after the code is managed. So that's how it helps. So, and the good thing about this is it's actually decrease the human like interference. Like you don't have to actually say I need to deploy on if you want to deploy on Friday, they usually have a way to back it up, roll back. If the deployment didn't go well, it's automatically roll back, or have some way to reduce the value. Not reduce the value, but basically to make sure the application up. So but you don't have to go through the process. Oh, I need to release it. I need to get approval from this person, and then I need to get approval from this person before I can actually able to release it, the application live, right? So this is like how, like one of the ways. So if another thing you will probably want to look at it is the Canary deployment. Like you said, that's like a scalable. How you deploy in a very like manner. Like I want to deploy feature A first, feature B first, like slowly, in a very organized manner. So let me give you an example of the deployment pipeline, right? This is using a simple CI example. So I just take the shot. So you push the code, build, run the test, PR reverse, and you go to PR review, no, and you have to go back to developer, fix the code. Yes, and then approve, code is merged, publish, deploy to staging. And then after that, build the package. If you require the image need to be built, yeah, and PM publish, right? So, and then deploy to the staging. So staging, test it out. If you're okay, the service is up and running, is okay to production level, just have to approve it, and then straight away deploy to the production. So that's mainly how it works, right? So now let's take a step back, whatever I talk about, and the stuff that IAC or pass or continuous delivery or deployment is all stuff, right? If you put it in one action, right, you can actually save a lot of time. Like things that can take months for deployment to get live, you can probably do it in like 1 month or a couple of days, right? Depending on how efficient your team is, how rigid is your bureaucracy process itself. So your application is your infra first step project, you want to get a project approval. So you want to do this project. Okay, yeah, I want to do a hello world. So you have infra IAC provision probably like 1 or 2 days. Like due to this, if you still require certain of human interaction, right? And you got platform service, you have an app engine, Azure app service, this kind of stuff, which the developer itself can deploy it. Doesn't require the interference or approval from the infra side or the for a different team or get approval, right? So that's what basically the stuff coming in, and then it deploys with the pipeline. So the pipeline itself contains all the approval, all the testing, whatever due diligence need to be done. So that's how important is the pipeline need to be perfect. I mean, there's no such thing as perfect, but you can try to work towards the perfect. That's how you add value to your entire software development itself, right? And at the end of the day, whatever you do, when you're trying to add value, is actually reflecting in your application life. That's what we wanted, right? And so in conclusion, right? This is what I'm going to say. What we want is a faster mean time to resolution. Things to get moving, like as soon as possible, as fast as possible, with the least human interaction as possible. But still, we want to comply to the audit. We want to comply to the to whatever to the security side as well. If your cyber set was saying, and we want higher reliability as well, and higher velocity as well. We want an application which is silent, and another thing important is that, especially now, is like a lot of companies cutting costs. You want to know what you're doing and how you monitor what application what infra is your application using. Probably you have your application leaking memory as well. Like these are the stuff that can cost you a lot for a company, especially if you're startup. You're very concerned about cost, so it's important. Another thing as well is the control and standardization. You need to standardize like how to give access, what kind of access, what level of people want to have access. These are talking about standardization. Like for example, if you use things like Terraform, right? You can actually standardize how you want the infra to be deployed and create a project. So this, since you're using the same script across the different project, it's going to be the same thing, same way of the infrastructure provisioning done across different projects. So there's a standardized way of doing infrastructure. If you go to the manual, people will I'll probably like give to it person A. Person A probably do it his own way. Person B probably going to do his own way. So when you want to debug or something goes wrong, it's very hard. It takes time consuming. And with that, right, I will probably like say, it'd be great if I can see one day. I mean, companies can start to implement like chaos engineering stuff, and where you can test it your application live or production itself. And that's the hope. That's the value you can add. The more testing you can do in your production, that's how you can add value to your company and also your customer. So that's what we want at the end of the day. And I rush a bit because I'm running out of time, so that's why. So I rush a bit. So sorry if you feel a bit too fast or I didn't explain properly here and there a bit. So to end the night or to end this talk, I would say, should I deploy on a Friday night? If last time you asked me, I would say no. But now, if you have a proper pipeline, proper system, proper A to Z entire software is there, where if you automate everything, it requires a minimum human interaction. And I say, yeah, why not? Just go for it. You can deploy as much as you want, anytime you want, like without raising any concern. But you should able to own it up to it, and also have, you should able to have the trust, and the responsibility which you can carry and give to it. So, and with that, I would like to say thank you for listening to my talk. Well, I think still a lot of people are watching. Okay, I thought I'm gonna lose a lot of people with my talk, since the second talk a bit like I mean you dry a bit. So yeah, guys, thank you so much. And yeah, you can find me at Tevanraj and my email if you have anything, and my linking is there as well. So everything is just Tevanraj, so pretty easy to find out as well. So thank you, and I'm going to be back to the organizer mode. So guys, thank you so much for listening. I think it's still a lot of people. So and it's getting late, so it's supposed to end at 10. So, and thank God, it's no questions is there. So I think because it's like very high level, and it's the basic stuff basically of DevOps, and probably like a bit of SRE itself. Okay, we have a question as well. Michael have a question like, what do you suggest for cost-effective open source version of launch directory or feature flagging? So far, I haven't found an open source a free one. The one the closest and cheapest one I found is actually launch darkly. If I want, maybe it's been a while since I checked, so let me do a quick Google search to find it. If we have something already in the public, yeah, I think you can check it out. Split. This is of I think Firebase also have it now and roll out. So these are the stuff that you can check it out for free open source version. And I think you pretty much can Google it, like launch Duckly open source. Pretty much all the options are there. There's many services out there actually using it. Bullet Train as well, and Rollout. Rollout is people probably want to check it out as well. So I hope that answers your questions. Thanks, Michael. And any more questions? I hope not. Okay. I think I think you guys lost me in between the talks as well, right? Sorry about it. I think that's about it. I think we pretty much came to the end. So we try to do it monthly. So give us a feedback and what we want to improve and stuff, or you're expecting something else, like a format or different kind of talk. Feel free. If you want to be the speaker as well, feel free to contact us and let us know like you want to be a speaker, because we're always looking for speakers. Very important. So you don't have to go and like hunt people down. So for next month, we already have a partnership probably with a company. So look forward for it. It should be an exciting one. So see how everything goes. And with that, if nothing else, I would say good night, guys. Thank you so much and stay safe. Follow the SOPs. And until I see you again. And if you're on the West, you have a clubhouse, or you don't have a clubhouse, please let me know. There's a lot of tech. And yeah, see you guys. Good night. Bye.